going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Thought Provoking Podcast. Today is a special one for me, maybe even my most important interview that I might do. It's heart to heart with my son today. Me and my son went through nice little riff with each other, and I think that it had to be some adjustments made to further our relationship and keep it going. So I want to thank you for showing up today. This will be your first podcast. Have you ever done a podcast? Let me not speak for you.
No.
Okay, get the people your name.
My name Brandon, and I really don't like to do stuff, but I really play my game more than I really do other things.
So you weren't gonna let me ask you what you like to do. You just gonna throw it out there, huh? You ain't gonna let me just iterate that thing, huh? Okay. How old are you? Tell the people how old you are.
I'm 13.
13. About to be 14. About to have almost an adult, man. Young man. Okay. Anybody you want to shout out?
Nah.
What? Nobody? Not a cousin, not a friend, your girlfriend, your boo thing, huh? Your boo thing? Nobody?
Nah.
Okay, before we get into it, I do want to shout your mom out, Tiana Hill. The reason why I want to shout her out is because when me and you went through our situation, which we'll get into, it got to a place where I was able to reach out to her and tell her that I found our relationship to be strained, and it was getting harder and harder for me to deal with you as being my own child. I didn't want you around. I didn't really want to speak to you until I got what I felt would have been an apology that made me feel better about the situation. So let's get into actually what happened. A couple months back, you were spending quite a bit of time here. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah.
During the pandemic, you basically did school from home, and you would spend quite a bit of your time here with me, my girlfriend, her kids, and it was just one big family in here. Would you say that's correct? For the most part, I felt that I wasn't really working as much this year due to the pandemic, work being slow, things of that nature. And in my opinion, I was here a lot, trying to do different activities with you all to keep you entertained, because there wasn't much going outside. Outside world was kind of closed down. So you had to make do with what you basically had to make do with. So during this period, all the kids was around. You had game systems and things of that nature set up to where after school, homework and things of that nature was done. You had other outlets that you can, get your energy out and just have a good time. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so something ended up happening, in my opinion. I'll say from what I saw, and then, if there's anything you want to throw in there or, go later on, you definitely let me know. But there was a period of time where you're having all these kids, everybody's kind of blending together, learning each other. I felt that there was a period where, you wasn't used to everybody being in kind of one household, your brother, and then these two girls who we've taken in as family now. And it got tricky where, 1 minute everybody's getting along, having a good time, then everybody kind of need their own space, a little time out, and you guys start getting into it. So to make it short, one particular night, I ended up going to work. You all were left here with Brittany, an adult. She's watching over everybody, and you guys are doing kid stuff. I come back home, and all of you all were kind of checked over things that we deem to be no-nos. Mind your business. Let the boys have conversations with the boys when the girls are having conversations with the girls, meaning your friends. Basically, keep that stuff separate. And basically, there was a statement that was made to where one of the girls felt that when you don't get your way, you like to throw your weight around. You like to say, hey, I'll just go home. I don't want to deal with this. And you was using that to your benefit because you knew that all the younger siblings wanted you to stay. You were fun to everybody. Nobody just wanted it to be 3 people. It's 4, These two get along better. These two get along. Y'all had your own little vibe going with each other. That's kind of safe to say.
Yes.
So as that went on, there was a statement that was brought up and brought to my attention where one of the young girls, she said she doesn't think that it's fair that we have an Xbox here and a PlayStation, which in my house I always sit there and I say, anybody's free to use it. The games was bought for whoever. You all have a good time. As long as nobody's arguing and fighting over it, have a blast. And she brought up the fact that she felt it's unfair that a part of you throwing your weight around, you like to sit there and say, well, I'm on the Xbox in here. Y'all can play the PlayStation. When your friends are done playing with you and, that system is no longer fun to you, you feel the need to come over and just take over something else. Or if you give them permission to play the Xbox and they are playing the PlayStation, when you allow them to play the Xbox and you playing the PlayStation and you done with that, you just go snatch it. And the statement that you made was basically, I don't have to let you play. I don't mind you playing, but I don't have to let you play. So if you choose to take it at the particular time that you want your game system, you deem that to be fair. And we had a discussion about that. So would you say that that's kind of how that conversation started going, where you made that statement?
Yeah.
So tell me, obviously we went through this situation and we got past it, but looking back at that situation, what made you feel that that was actually okay?
Well, at the time, I felt like since it was mine, I can play it when I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I could play when I want. I didn't really have to just, I gotta ask to play. That's the type of thing that I felt. I always felt that I could just get on there whenever I wanted to, because I was always used to being by myself.
Yeah.
So that's how I always felt towards that.
So let me ask you a question. So you say you were used to being by yourself, which I have 2 kids. You're my oldest, your younger brother. I have kids with 2 different women.
Not to cut you off, but what I mean by that is when I'm at home.
Yes, that's what I was getting into. So I have kids by 2 different women. So obviously the upbringings in households totally different. When you're with your mom, you're your mom's only child. And when you come here, it's you and your brother. But now we've added the addition of 2 younger girls who has been in our family. So it became a different dynamic for you. Obviously, you used to having your brother here, but, sometimes he play the game, sometimes he don't. It's not a real big deal to him. But seeing that you have been used to sharing with other people and you were raised to share, what I'm trying to get an understanding of is you share with your brother. Yeah, I've never seen y'all 2 have an issue where the statement has been made, this is my system. I don't mind you playing, but I don't have to let you play. Where did that mentality come from?
The thing with my brother is that he always is on his own things. Mm-hmm. So it's like a rare thing for him to come and play with me or ask.
Okay.
And even if he did, sometimes I would be playing with my friends, so I'd be like, hold on. But then I would sometimes forget. So he'd come back and he'd ask me again. And sometimes that'd get me a little frustrated, but then I won't say nothing. So I'd be like, hold on, I'm going to play with you later. He just keep going. And then sometimes I'll just be like, hey, go ahead, play. And I just stop playing for the rest of the day.
So when the statement was made, I didn't like it. I got upset, and I instantly started talking to you more of like you were an adult versus a kid. I asked you, why did you think that that was okay? And you made the statement, because it's mine. I don't mind them playing, but I don't have to let them play. And I got upset because I felt like, first off, you wasn't raised like that. You're very privileged. You've not only got everything that you've ever needed in life, but you've also received everything you've ever wanted in life. From shoes to game systems to trips, restaurants, you name it. You've always been able to experience the finer things in life. So in my mind, there's no way that I got a child that think that spewing this is okay. And when you double down on it, meaning I asked you, did you say it? You said, yeah. I asked you, did you think it was okay? And you said, yeah. That's doubling down. it upset me. So I told you, which first off, let me apologize because this will be the first time me apologizing for how I talked to you. I didn't handle it in the correct manner that it should have been dealt with. But I told you, well, since that's your attitude, you wrap that fucking game up because it's my house, it's my TV, and I run shit here, not you. And you wrap it up and you put that game up until you go home. At this particular time, you were staying maybe a month and a half, go home a weekend, you come right back. And I didn't like it. So that was my approach, and I told you wrap it up. Shortly after that, I received a text message from your mom stating that she was coming to get you. Mind you, this is late at night. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning or after that. I had then already fell asleep. I was done with the situation. I told you, wrap it up. You not to bring that game out. And I ended up going to sleep. I missed the text message, and she ended up giving me a call. So from that moment, I get on the phone. She explains to me, hey, you know, you might didn't get my text, but I'm on my way to get my son. At that moment, I knew you were upset about, I'm assuming, what I said to you. You reached out to your mom because you wanted to go home at that point. You no longer wanted to stay underneath my roof. You wanted to go home, which we've always had that type of relationship, so I'm not faulting you for that. But I always say, I don't believe in forcing a kid to stay somewhere that they don't want to stay. You want to go home? Go. That's fine. Just don't turn right back around when on that other side things are not going the way you wanted to or you thought it was going to go and ask me to come back and get you. That I don't believe in. I give you free will to come and go as you please, but don't get an attitude with me here. Run home. And then you go through the same situation that you thought was so much better than being here and turn around and want to come back. So your mom reached out and she said she was coming to get you. It was so late, I didn't even have the energy to ask what happened, you know, what's going on. So when I realized what was going on, I got up. I went and found you in the room. You were playing your game, and I told you turn the game off. You know, you come on up out this room, go sit in the living room. Don't touch nothing in my house. You want to go home, only focus on going home. You reached out to your mom, you, for whatever reason, want to go home, just focus on that. And your mom went and came and got you, and, you know, you went on out the house. I locked my house back up, and I went to bed. You know, it was so late. So I got up the next morning around 11:30, 12, and it instantly was the first thing that was on my mind. So what I did was I reached out to your mom, and I asked, you know, what was going on? You know, what's the story behind you wanting to go home? So your mom expressed to me that you said that you don't feel love when you come over here, that I don't treat you fair, that I take everybody's side over yours, and, you know, you just needed to get out of here because you felt that you're being mistreated. And I took offense to that. So I want to let you chime in on this part right here. What was actually going on in that particular moment that made you feel like you wasn't loved? Let's start with that.
Well, the first thing was that a lot of the times the girls will say some things, and I'll be like, no, I didn't do that. And then the next moment would be that you would be like, whatever that they said, you would be like, oh, you would say something like, oh, don't do that again, even though I said I didn't do it. And then that would kind of make me a little mad, so I just go somewhere and I'll just sit and I'll just basically stay away from everybody else for like an hour or two. And that stuff would just kind of make me mad. Yeah,
It's really bothering you. So let me ask this: did I accuse you of doing it, or did I say? Because in my mind, what I felt I was doing was taking the approach in certain situations. It's your word versus them. In my mind, what I would take the approach of saying, if you did this, just don't do it again. If you didn't, not a big deal. That's what I thought my approach was. But you saw it as something different.
Yeah, I always saw it as you're saying that I did it. That's what it sounded like to me.
Okay. Have you always felt that this has been a constant thing, or did that start being a thing when we start blending family?
When we started blending the family.
So you felt that when we blended family, that's when you start to see the change happen. Okay. Is there anything else that you could point to or that comes to mind to make you say you felt that you weren't loved?
It was always like things like that, or you would just yell at me for small things that you could have just told me to do it, but you didn't have to yell.
Okay. Can you give an example of something that was small to you and you felt that I didn't have to yell? It wasn't warranted me yelling.
Like you would tell them to say all the shoes was at the door. You tell us to move them, but I'll forget to do it because I was doing something else. You would come back and you'd be like, didn't I tell you to get them shoes? But you would be yelling at, like, you could tell your tone was up a little bit more.
I didn't get mad, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If I said do something, and you basically pointed out everybody else did it except you, what would you be doing that you didn't do what I told you to do? What else would you be doing?
It could be something like, I'm cleaning up already. You telling me I got chores to do and I'm doing those, or we got something. Then you tell me to do something else, but then I'm doing something already. I'm getting like confused. Like, do I sit there and finish that, or do I do the other thing? But then it'll be times like some time will go by and I'm still doing the other thing, and then you come back out and you be like, didn't I tell you to do that? So I don't know which one to do. Like.
So, what you telling me is you be cleaning up. You cleaning up. I watch you clean up.
That was just
I instruct you to.
That's just an
You know
example.
what I'm saying? Did that happen? Because I don't ever recall a situation to where I've said, Brandon, do the dishes, and then I stop you from doing the dishes and say, move your shoes. And then I come back and say, why are these shoes still here? And I just start yelling. I don't ever recall a situation actually happening like that. I do recall a situations to where if I tell you to do a particular thing, but I catch you still playing that game because you're trying to get the last couple of points or whatever you're doing on that game, at this particular moment, you can't shut it down. You're still trying to go. And I catch that, then I start yelling. Because as a parent, I'm giving you instruction. There's something that I want done in my house. I want you to clean up your mess. Not a mess that I made. I don't make you clean up my mess. I want you to clean yours. So if I'm giving instructions on something that I expect to be done, and there's an expectation of you doing this, but I have to wait until the game slows down, you mute your friends, y'all get the last few jokes in, then I start to yell. Because when I say it regular, it wasn't good enough. The next step is I'm going to get a little loud to let you know I'm dead serious now. Once it go beyond yelling, there's a consequence to it, whether it's a punishment, things being taken away, or a whooping. So I don't really agree that there's been a time to where I'm watching you clean up. I instruct you to do something else, and there's a bit of confusion, and then I just instantly start yelling. But I didn't bring you on here just to bash you and say, that didn't happen, this didn't, because that was a big part of us getting in a space to where I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want you at my house. But moving on from that, a statement was also made that you said, my daddy think he's slick. All he do is buy me stuff, and he don't spend no time with me. And you said it to your mom's husband's side of the family. Did that actually happen?
I actually said it to my mom, and my mom basically was talking with Gordon, and then that kind of like spread to everybody else.
So he repeated. You said it to her. She had a conversation with her husband.
We was actually around, like they're around their family when this happened, when we was talking. And I guess they kind of overheard or whatever, but that's basically played a part into that. And that's basically how that happened. But, yeah. So I didn't really say nothing to them, but I said something to my mom.
You said it around them,
yeah.
and then they took it for what it was, and there was a conversation being had. Okay, I can understand that. I took offense to that because for you to say all I do is buy you things, I don't spend time with you. Earlier when we got on this pod, I asked you, is it fair and accurate to say you would spend a month, sometimes a month and a half over here, go home on the weekend, that's just a weekend, and come right back? I asked you, was that accurate? And you said what?
Yes.
You said that was accurate. So for me, I take offense to it because I feel like my father died before you were born. So you never got a chance to meet him, experience him, anything like that. And being honest with you, this is a conversation that me and you never had. I always said that things worked out for the best, that it happened that way because my father didn't do right by me. Me watching you grow up and spending time with you and playing these different games and all of the things that has went on between me and you to share this bond, it made me realize how much I miss. So I've always taken value in being a part of your life. You know, whether it was watching you on my own, you know, picking you up, spending quality time. There were times to where, you know, this particular time you want to play sports and you were playing basketball. And I was dating an individual who stayed an hour and a half from where you were, you know, playing sports. You would tell me at the last minute and I would get up and still make that drive up here to make sure I caught your game. So I took offense because I felt like, nah, when it comes to this fatherhood, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm there. I don't just buy you stuff. I spend time. If you're here a month and a half at a time, who are you spending time with? It didn't make sense to me that you could sit there and say that. But then on the flip side of it, I also felt like, okay, well, if you have a problem with me buying you all these things, stop asking for them. Every time you see a new game or there's a game card or, you know, V-Bucks or whatever it is that you want, stop asking for it. You're asking for a reason. It's like when it's beneficial to you, you like my money, you want my money. But then when you're throwing a hissy fit about something else, you're bashing me for the same things that on a regular basis you're okay with. And I also felt like there's a lot of underprivileged kids. Parents are struggling to get their kids just the basic necessities in life. You not only get what you need, but everything you want. So for you to turn around and say the things that you say, it's like a slap in my face. But what made you feel that all I do is buy you stuff, you don't get enough quality time? I don't spend time with you was the statement. But or did you mean something different? It came out that way. Did you mean something different?
So this didn't start happening until around when the girls started coming around a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started to feel that because I didn't. It's kind of my fault at the same time because I really, instead of being around you more, I was more around the kids. And that's when I started to feel that I wasn't around you enough or we wasn't spending enough time together.
You started to feel there was a distance between me and you. Okay. I want to tell you this. I appreciate you saying that because initially when we had this conversation, that wasn't what you said. You put it out there that I don't spend time with you. And again, I took offense to it because I'm saying, how are you in my house a month to a month and a half at a time and then turn around and say this is what you're experiencing? I felt it's a blatant lie. This didn't happen. I looked at it as every time you're here, you want to do the same exact thing. You want to go play PlayStation. You want to go play your Xbox. We start introducing board games. You know, we got Connect 4. We got Uno, which I'm a huge Uno player. So anybody that wants some of this smoking Uno, make sure you hit me up. We can play it over the phone, cards in person. But beyond that, all you want us to do is be attached to the game. And there was a different dynamic of these girls coming into my life. You know, I think you got so accustomed to your dad not being in a committed relationship. And it was kind of just us. So this was a new situation to you. But on the flip side, she's been heavily involved. You've had private conversations with her. So she's created this safe space for you to where if there was an issue, you could also go to her and express how you feel. I never felt that I made you uncomfortable to come talk to me and express, hey, this is how I feel. I would like this to change. Also, I didn't feel that it was accurate what you were saying, because there were several conversations that I had with you, with picking you and your brother up. You all would get here and I would ask the question, hey, do you all want the girls come here? Because again, they have their own, they got their own life, they got their own home, you know, they can respect us saying it's just the fellas this time, the boys. They don't have an issue with that. But it was you all constantly saying, I want the girls to come. And y'all have a good time. So it's not really about all of a sudden them coming out and I'm treating everybody, I'm treating you all totally different, or you different, and I'm treating everybody so much better than you. But as a parent, you got to understand this. I'm always going to be on the side of right. No matter me being your dad, Jaden's dad, or them coming into my life. I treat all the kids the same. And me embracing them and us doing this blended family, those are my kids as well. So I treat everybody the same. I'm on the side of what's right. Not, oh, this my son, he's my oldest, and you know, whatever he say, I gotta roll with that. That's not the job of a parent. That's not. That's stuff that kids do. But me being an adult, I'm on the side of what's right. So the same way you get chastised for not cleaning up behind yourself, did the girls not get whoopings behind not doing their chores? They got whoopings, right? They got electronics taken away from them, right? So at what point did you see there being a difference? Did you not hear voices get raised behind things that they didn't do, that they were told to do?
I did.
So if you're agreeing that they received the same treatment that you did, that's where it became lost, well, confusion for me to say, in my opinion, everybody was treated equal. I didn't understand that.
But then they say, from what they say we get treated different. That I treat them differently, but I don't. So I don't understand that. How am I treating them differently? But then when I say that, it's a different thing.
Well, you know, I always, when we approach these situations, I always ask for examples of what's going on. And
When we had that conversation about my game and how I was feeling about that,
right,
one of the girls said, I feel that he treats me and my sister differently.
yeah, she did. She said that she feels that there's a change. The way you used to treat Patience, which is the oldest child, closer in age to you, she felt that in the beginning you guys were clicked up like this. And then somehow, some way, that whole situation changed into where you and Brooklyn became like this. And when she would want to play with you and have a good time, you would shun her away and no, I'm okay. But as soon as Brooklyn want to do something, you all for it. You ready to play, do whatever Brooklyn want to do. There was no need for me to, that's not a situation that I need to really insert myself as far as, you know, saying, oh, this not right, that's not right. Because as an adult, what I saw was you and Patience are so much alike. You both like to, you know, show that I'm the oldest, you know. I know how things should be ran. You both want to kind of play the role of an adult sometime, in my opinion. Brooklyn became more appealing to you, which is a younger girl, because Brooklyn is kind of more quiet to herself. Brooklyn will play and things like that when she come out of her shell, but overall, Brooklyn is to herself. So I think because you and Patience both feel like y'all the alphas of the situation and bumping heads, it got to a space where you chose Brooklyn to be your running mate. And I ended up reaching out to you, and I wanted to have a discussion with you about this. So I proceeded to ask you, why did you say this? Why did you say that? And your whole thing was, that's how I feel. And I didn't agree that that's how you felt. I felt you just flat lying because you were upset that I made you wrap that game up. I didn't took electronics from you, your phone, made it so you couldn't play certain gaming systems, and I would always say you can play it tomorrow. But this particular time, I said wrap that fucking game up. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what I said to you. Wrap that fucking game up until you go home. This is my house. Since you dictating what's yours, this is my house. This is my electricity. This is my TV. Wrap it up until you go home. I felt that made you go into the mode of I want to go home, or I don't feel loved. I don't feel he treats me fairly. He chooses their side over mine. I felt that's where that stuff stems from. So I basically, tried to get you to say that I made it up. And you stuck to your guns, didn't you? You said, no, I'm not lying. That's basically what I felt. I believe that's a thing that actually took place. No, that's what happened. I'm not lying. It made me furious. I started feeling like, all right, well, if that's how you feel, it is what it is. I kind of got off the phone with you. I was upset. I discussed it a little bit. People gave their input saying, he's your son. This is how y'all fix it. I let a little more time go by, and then I reached out to you again. And in the midst of the conversation, I said, listen, Brandon, none of this stuff is adding up. You say that all I do is buy you stuff and I don't spend time with you. But I have text messages to where you're asking me for gaming cards. You're asking me for new AirPods because yours is damaged. So I'm putting this stuff out there to tell you, if all I do is buy you stuff, stop asking me for stuff. Let's just focus on spending time. But you constantly asking. So it's upsetting me now because it's like, what part of this don't you get? You said you want time, but you asking for money. Materialistic stuff. You're not asking for time. So how do you justify this? Where was your mindset at when I started telling you, hey, if all you want is quality time, stop asking me to buy you stuff? Where was your mindset? How did that make you feel?
Kind of made me feel like if you want to fix it, you could, instead of just not saying nothing back or saying no, stop asking me about stuff, you could reach out and say, oh, let's go somewhere or something like that to fix it. So at the same time, that made me feel like, oh, he don't care like that. So at the same time, I just went, okay, I'm just going to stop talking to him completely. And that's how I kind of felt after that.
Okay. So me asking you, I called you several times to talk about it. You didn't call me. I called you several times to talk about it. And I was trying to get you to admit you lied. This is not a true statement. You assassinating my character to people that don't even know me. And I didn't like it. So I wanted you to admit these are things that you're saying that's not true. You don't really feel this way. And you stood on it to say, yeah, I feel this way. And again, I pointed those situations out to you. You can't sit there and go tell people, all my dad do is buy me stuff, but he don't spend time with me. But yet, you're not never asking for time. You're asking for stuff. Then when I put that in your face, that's when you start saying, no, I do want time or whatever, but, you don't be doing this or you don't be doing that. And it got a little heated where I said, okay, look, Brandon, I'm tired of going back and forth with you. You know you lying. I told you you're a teenager now. You're a young man. It's time for you to step up to their plate. Admit that you lied, or we're going to start putting situations in place to where things are going to change. I would allow you, by you being as old as you are, if I would have to go to work or anything like that, you could fix your own food. You know the rules of the house. I would go to work. I would let you and your brother stay here. If you can't admit that you lied, there's no more lingering around my house. Because you also made the statement, yeah, you don't spend time with me. You go to work, you come home, you go right to sleep. And I didn't feel I cook. We ain't got a maid. I'm cooking, still clean up, wash y'all clothes. We have conversations if that's what y'all want to do. I would also play the game with y'all from time to time. I was a big Mortal Kombat person. We get it on and that and have our little time spent. So for you to throw these things out that I feel is flat lies, and you wouldn't admit it was a lie, it put me in the mindset of I have to treat you like I treat anybody else in the street, no matter what the title is, because I've always lived my life to say, listen, if you wrong me, there's a consequence coming behind that. I don't care if you're mother, father, and I didn't ever think in the wildest time that it would trickle down to my son. But I didn't even separate you. I couldn't get the apology and you to admit that you lied, so I had to treat you like everybody else. You lie on me, you do something that I feel is disrespectful, there's a consequence. So that consequence became, don't come back to my house until you fix it. If you do come to my house, you're only allowed on the weekends. If I got to go to work, you need to go back home. Whereas I would let you stay because you're out of school. I would let you do your work from home as long as you can maintain your grades and, work was being completed. All of that was being taken away. Don't ask me to buy you nothing, the latest whatever shoe, whatever materialistic thing that you would normally want and get on the regular. Don't ask me for any of that because all you want is time. I'm a firm believer on making somebody stand on what they say. You wanted time, that's all you're going to get. Don't ask me for nothing that costs me money outside of your basic needs. I had already took care of your summer stuff, so you don't need no clothes. Oh, I know you good. I'm going to send your mama money for your haircut. Oh, you good. Don't ask me for anything outside of that. And that was the stance that I took. But I'm going to tell you this. I quickly realized, I'm not going to say quickly, but I realized at a certain point as this whole situation took place and spiraled out of control. Because again, I didn't want you at my house. I didn't want you on my phone. I even hung up on you. I was like, all right, man, if that's how you feel, then we going to keep it that way. You got ready to say something else. I don't know if you was going to say, well, wait, Dad, or, let's continue talking about it. But I was like, man, get off my phone. I hung up on you. And I didn't want to talk to you. And that was wrong as being a parent because I was so hell-bent on proving you wrong. And to prove you wrong, it's further damaging our relationship as father and son. And you know good and well, me and my mom don't speak. It's been years since we had a conversation, and it's due to me feeling like she never treated you and your younger brother the same. I felt that there was a difference. So you see the similarity, how you felt I'm doing things that make you feel like there's a difference in treatment. And I felt the exact same thing when your brother was younger. Despite what happened between me and my mother, that's really irrelevant. The key factor in that was I always sat there and I told people, despite whose side you take and who was right and wrong with my personal situation with my mother, as a parent, there should never be a situation to where you can't openly have a discussion about any situation that you're experiencing. And in that discussion, even if you all have to agree to disagree, that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was so hell-bent on proving you wrong, I was going to make you suffer. I know he going to want these shoes. I know he going to want to go here. I know he going to be dying to get to my house because he's the only child over there. He going to hear fun in the background at his daddy's house. And as soon as he asks, I'm going to say no. You ain't apologizing? No. Stay where you at. And it put a strain on our relationship. I did my part of reaching out, but I didn't realize I'm failing as a parent to my son, who I expect to be a respectable young man, who I feel like I try and teach morals and values to have high goals. A young kid that I think you could rule the world if you wanted to. How do I have those thoughts and feelings for you, but then turn around and I'm so big on being right? So I had to look at my situation with me and my mom and what I complained about with that and say, wow, you're repeating this cycle. And that was why I reached out to you later and I asked you what you were doing. You were where you were at?
I think I was at my
You was in Atlanta.
I was at my uncle's house.
Yeah, you was spending the summer with your uncle. I asked you where you were at, what was going on, and from that moment, I asked you, were you comfortable having this conversation again, right? And your response was?
Yeah.
So as we dove into the conversation, at that moment, I reached out to you and I called you because at that point, it was no longer about who's right, who's wrong. I wanted an apology so bad. I wanted you to admit I lied. I didn't tell the truth. I don't feel this way. I was in my feelings about this game. But at this very moment, The only thing that I really cared about was figuring out how do we fix this. So as I introduced the conversation to you, I asked you how you was doing, and you know, we briefly touched on the subjects again because I didn't want it to get to a point where you felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to get upset behind something that I felt I was still looking for you to admit and you didn't give me. So we treaded lightly through the conversation and we touched on the key points that needed to be had. I also was in a position to where I wanted you to know, as your father, I'm always going to be on the side of what's right, but I'm never going to purposely put you in a situation to where you don't feel love. It wasn't no longer about proving you a lie. I'll show you I love you all the time. I was in a position to say, if this is how you feel, I failed somewhere. There's something that I didn't do right. So let me work on this. I also start, giving you things for you to improve on. When I said, well, I find it odd that you want this time and, energy from me, but there's weeks that go by and I don't hear from you unless I call you or I text you. I don't hear from you saying, hey, Dad, I just was calling to see how you doing. How was work? Did you have to work? What's going on around the house? Anything good? Man, I was just checking on you. Instead of saying, hey, Dad, yeah, can I get this game card? Hey, Dad, these shoes coming out. Hey, Dad, can I get some extra spending money because I'm finna do. It was no longer about proving you wrong. It was, how do we fix this? This is what you say the issue is, although I may not agree with what you're saying. How do we fix this? How do we improve? And I think that's something that a lot of parents need to keep in mind. If you're anything like me, I'm hell-bent on proving you wrong. I feel like I'm a good guy. I got a big heart. I'll go out of my way for any and everybody. So when you wrong me, it doesn't even process in my head to say, you're human. Maybe you did this not knowing. Instantly, in my mind, I got to get you. It's on. The fight is on. I've been like that. I've built that up for so long because I'm not used to anybody else going to fix it for me. Maybe some of it is also struggling to put out my feelings and say, hey, this really bothered me. It's instantly, I'm going to do an action to show you upset me versus using my mouth and words to say, hey, I don't like that you said this, Brandon. So I had some growing to do myself as a parent. And I think that, in my opinion, I did a good job at saying, you know what, put my pride to the side and say, listen, let's just focus on how do we fix this. Because had I kept going down the road that I was going, ain't no telling when it would have got to a point where we're at now. We speak on the regular. You'll call me and say, Dad, I just want to see how you was doing. And it's much appreciated. I feel good when you do it. It makes me want to continue, building a new relationship with you because you're a teenager, but each year you're getting older. I got a lot more to learn about you. You got a lot more to learn about me, why my mindset is the way it is. Not just because I'm adult, but learning, this is how I grew up. This is how things were in my household. And these are things that has never been discussed with you. As you get older now, I want to have that line of communication open with you. And touching on communication, there's a key thing that you said in the midst of a conversation that we had. You said, Dad, I don't always feel comfortable to tell you how I feel. And it was mind-blowing to me that you would say that, especially in this day and age. So give us a little insight on why you felt you're not always comfortable to bring situations to me or, tell me something's bothering you.
So it's always been, I've always felt that you were quick to yell at something.
Okay.
So I did not like that. So I would kind of keep to myself about certain things. Like I would basically get scared.
Make you shut down.
And yeah, so I would not want to say nothing.
So scared as far as what? Like, did you feel you were going to be harmed? Like, physically?
I felt that I was going to get a whooping or I was going to get yelled at. Or
so just a whooping, not like abuse.
No, not abuse.
I just want to make that clear. You've never been abused because, can't put that out there like somebody's been abusing. Now, if you feel that way, say it. But I don't want you out here lying. Definitely not abuse. Putting a belt to that behind, that's something different. So we on the same page. So you felt if you express your feelings that it lead to you getting a whooping.
Yeah.
And that's something that, again, at that moment, I would have said, man, you a lie. I ain't never whoop you for just saying. But again, it's not about me proving you wrong. It's about me saying, listen, as an adult who expresses, hey, these are the rules. This is how we going to do things. My son's hurting. My son feels a type of way. That's more important than me being right. I'm going to show him. These are the consequences when you say this. You lie. You do this. That's out the window. So that came with putting the pride to the side. But I'm going to tell you why that stood out to me. It's 2021. There are so many young kids your age, younger, a little bit older, in your age range, that they commit suicide. You do know what suicide is, right? These kids are taking their lives from being bullied, being stressed, feeling like they don't have anyone to vent to. There's no safe place when it comes to these kids. And immediately when you said that, it was mind-blowing to me, because I started instantly thinking, wow, what would I do if I had to read the paper and see my son's name in there? My son attempted to harm himself because me, who I take pride in saying, I'm a good father. I buy my kids whatever they want and need. And we go out to eat, we spend time. But I'm the cause of you not feeling like you got a safe place to communicate with me. It messed me up. And to think that you would lose a child, no parent ever expects to lose a child before they go. We always think in our head, we'll be long gone, you'll be living your life, you'll have kids, and, you'll be married somewhere, career-oriented, and that'll be the life. But to think, this is a new age of kid going on, where mentally you all are dealing with stuff that I've never had to deal with. So it was definitely a shocker and an eye-opener to just let me know at that moment, I'm not the perfect parent. I don't do everything right. There's work that I could do to fix these relationships, make you more comfortable. I could even do a better job at listening. My approach to parenthood. Years ago, before my grandmother died, which, we went to the funeral and stuff, her and my mom had an issue with each other, stemming from how my grandmother raised your grandmother. And there was things that 20, 30 years later, my mom, even to this day, she still holds on to. And so, me being a young kid that I was grown at the time, I was in my 20s, I had this brilliant idea that I'm going to put them two together. And I'm going to let them talk it out face to face. Also, it was a benefit to me because I was tired of hearing it. Like, I'm a firm believer, if I got an issue with you or anybody else, go tell it to that person. Like, I ain't got to keep telling somebody else when it needs to be told to you. So anyway, I put them two together, and it was an uncomfortable conversation. My mom started kind of expressing certain things that she felt, she didn't approve of, things that she would never do to her kids. And, she got a chance to vent, get it off her chest. And the one thing that stood out to me was my grandmother never apologized for anything that was hurting my mother, anything that my mother held on to in all of these years. And my grandmother saw the effect that it had not only on their relationship, but also, how it affected my mother's relationship with her own kids, the way she raised us and the way she talked to us and things that went on in our household. My grandmother said, you know what? There's no rule book on how to parent. And it always stuck with me. And I used to say, man, that's foul. You watching your child hurt. Your child is expressing she feels this way. And all you could come up with is, there's no rule book to parenting. But funny how things come full circle. I have a blow up with you. My first blow up. I've whooped you in the past, but you barely get whoopings now. You're starting to get a little too big for that. Might have to start a little bit of this in that boxing ring. But the first real blow up that I have with you, instead of me looking at the situation to say, wow, he feel this way, I don't agree with it, but let us get to a good place to where we can fix it. I'm hell bent on being right. And then when I realized I'm actually wrong, I didn't feel I was wrong for what you accused me of, but my approach to this entire situation was horrible. I started reverting to, there's no rule book to parenting. There's no rule book to parenting. The way your mom deals with you is totally different than the way I deal with you. Because you also brought up when it comes to your mom yells a lot. But one thing I will say is, I think I was in a place of raising you to have tough skin. You know, your mom's obviously it's a motherly thing. She's more loving. I feel like she, babies you a little more. Now, when you make her mad, she yell and get in your behind too. But I feel she babies you more. She could turn around and start yelling at you today, and tomorrow she hugging and, oh, I'm sorry, and she's justifying why things happen. And I'm just like, no, you did wrong. You're gonna get it together, or there's a consequence behind it. You're a young man. Get your stuff in order, and that's that. There was extra things that you needed from me, and I had to take a step back and realize. And nobody could tell it to me because other people would say, "Oh, he's still a kid." I didn't want to hear that. I felt like me growing up, and even myself now, it's not a cocky thing, but I feel like I'm a smart individual. I'm a very good thinker. I pay attention to detail, all of that. And I see some of the same traits that I've had and I have now in you. You're a very smart kid. I watch you in school where you're able to perform effortlessly without having to do a whole lot of studying, this, that, and other. So you're a bright kid. I watch you navigate through these games that I be looking at saying, ooh, this is a little too advanced for me, and I'm an adult. But it's nothing to you. So me knowing how smart you are, it just put me in a weird space to say, man, there's room for growth on both ends. You can do better at stop just constantly asking for stuff. Check on me. If you feel like I'm going through something, there's something I need to speak about, I need to express this to you, say it to me. Let's talk about it. Even if you say, well, Dad, I don't want to do it in front of everybody. Let's go outside. Let's take a car ride. Being able to create that safe space for you and myself to where we could communicate with each other, that was what was important in the end. So I was glad that we was able to get past that situation. Again, shout out to your mom, because what your mom attempted to do was to play mediator. She attempted to get both of us on the phone and express to me what you were really trying to say, because it came out one way and I stood on, no, you said it. That's what you meant. This is a consequence behind you doing this. And people say certain things that they don't necessarily mean. You say it in the heat of the moment. You said this, so I get upset. I got to counter you with that. Those things happen. I didn't give you that leeway to say, he probably didn't mean that. Even when I heard you say, well, Dad, you holding on to that, I didn't really mean that. This is what I was trying to say. I didn't want to hear that. And that's wrong with me being an adult. I have a place at raising you, providing for you, instilling morals and values in you. But none of that gives me the right to not listen, not be open to, you're a young man who you're growing, you're learning. The internet may have an influence, or friends on you. You're going to make mistakes. I didn't want to hear that. So I've apologized to you then, but I also want to apologize to you over the air to let you know I'm sorry. There's work that I needed to do. There's work that you needed to do. It was no longer about right or wrong. It was just about us fixing this. It was just about us putting this information out there to where other kids and parents could sit there and have a dialogue with each other to say, are you creating a safe space for you and your child to talk about whatever? Because in our mind, we think, oh, we can talk about whatever. I know my kid. But that would have been a lie had I been spreading that to everybody. I never realized that you felt the way you felt. So we have agreed to move past it. We talked about it. would you say that we are really in a better space?
Yeah.
Would you say that we have put in the work to make sure things progress instead of it going back to a bad situation or ugly situation? Would you say that?
Yeah.
How's your relationship now with the girls?
It's still good, but I don't talk to them as much.
Well, they're out of town too, so
Yeah.
let's not just throw it out like because you be on their phone. They'll be in there trying to downplay it, big dog. They'll be trying to downplay it. They're out of town, spending time with their fathers. That's what they do for the summer. They'll be back, and when they do, then what you gonna do? Y'all gonna be right up each other's you know what. Yeah, now you too cool now. So beyond that, I also told you that as a growing young man, I wanted to re-get to know you. You don't have the same mindset as you had when you were 5 or 10. You entering them teenage stages. Well, you are into a teenager. Be 14 soon. Let me ask you, man. Got you a girlfriend?
No.
Oh, there you go. Why you smiling so hard? You can tell me. Got you a girlfriend? Is there anybody that you eyeing?
Not really.
No, I think that's a lie. I think you looking at somebody. You looking at somebody, player. You can tell me, man. So you
Not
ain't eyeing
really.
nobody.
Not really.
Okay. So, how you feel about getting ready to go back to school now versus the e-learning?
I want to.
You want to?
Yeah.
Is there anything that makes you nervous about going back, or are you just excited to get back in the mix of everything?
No, I never really ever been nervous about school.
Okay. Tell the people what grade you going to.
I'm going to the 8th grade.
8th grade. Boy. Y'all gonna have an 8th grade dance or any of that?
I don't know.
If they do, you looking forward to it? You gonna go?
I don't know. I might.
What you mean, what's all of this?
I might go.
You might go. You gotta start going to stuff like that, man. This your daddy chance to shine. Put you in one of them 3-piece suits. Hook you up with some of them gators. Give you some of that top-notch Chulone to spray. That's cologne, by the way. Some of that Chulone. Yeah, man. So you ain't really stunning the girls right now. Okay. So let me ask you this. When you do find one that you like, you gonna tell your daddy about it? You sure? Don't worry. If you don't, I'm gonna be peeking around the bush to see if y'all in there kissing. I'm gonna be in there peeking around the bush. I want to know because you said you was gonna tell me. So I want to know, man. How's you and your younger brother's relationship?
Yeah, it's good.
Good.
I talk to him a decent amount. I don't talk to him every day,
Mm-hmm.
but I talk to him like at least 3 days out of the week.
Okay.
Or he just call me. He see what I'm doing.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel a strain in you and your younger brother's relationship at the time that me and you were not seeing eye to eye?
No.
Nothing was different?
He really he used to call me, ask me, was I coming over there? I was like, nah, not today. Maybe another time.
So had you ever broke down to him why you weren't coming?
No.
Okay. He asked me, and I just told him, I said, you don't know how to behave, is what I said.
I just didn't want to really pit him in that situation to where he trying to figure out why it's happening. Then he under stress trying to figure it out. I don't want
how I say you so smart, man. Look how you think as a 13-year-old. How many other 13-year-olds will think that way versus saying, I'm mad at my daddy. This is what happened. He wrong. That's where your mindset was at. So that's why I have high hopes for you and high expectations. When I know that the way your thought process is very similar to mine. These are the things that I look at and watch you grow and say, he know better than that. So yeah, I might be a little tough on you, but it's all for the good. If I didn't see value in you, if I didn't have high expectations for you, I would sit there and let you do whatever. I would let you live life how you wanted to and just say, oh, well, he ain't hurting nobody, so it is what it is. There's times that too many of us parents are not as active in instilling morals and values in our kids. And you can tell because these untrained kids become untrained adults. And they suffer behind these type of situations later on in life. And now you're trying to backtrack, and it makes it hard for women to tolerate dealing with who's supposed to be a grown man. It's really a grown boy. So I always want to do my job as a parent, as your father, making sure I hold you in high regards and making sure that things that I know you're supposed to do, things that I know that the world is not going to let you get away with, I teach it to you now. Give you all the tools that you need to survive in life. Also, me being an adult and a parent, to say, I don't got all the answers. I don't know everything. I also sit there and say, I'm open to criticism myself. You telling me, hey, Dad, you could use work in this area. Dad, I don't really like when you talk to me in this tone right here. Dad, this makes me uncomfortable. You know, I'm not too old to still learn new things. I'm not the mastermind behind parenting, any of that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that we got in this space to where we fix situations. I appreciate everybody that tried to assist and put it together, even if it didn't happen at the time that it was expressed to me. I still appreciate everybody who tried to help and assist, whether it was words of encouragement, just their thought or outlook on it. Just anybody who played a role, whether you listen to me vent about the situation. So I definitely want to let you all know I appreciate it. This is another episode of Thought Provoking Podcast, man. I hope you all enjoyed. Share the podcast. Talk to your kids, your loved ones. Even send in a little email or message. Tell me what you think, man. So I appreciate you all listening in. Until next time.